Maybe you clicked out of curiosity, or maybe, without even realizing it, you were looking for a quiet corner, a place where words arrive slowly and silence is part of the conversation. I've told this story with care, like stitching together memories, hurts, and small discoveries, hoping that, somewhere in it, you might see a piece of yourself. If that happens, even for a moment, stay. Listen for as long as you can. And if you feel like it, leave a little sign you were here. It doesn't have to be much. Sometimes, a simple "I'm here" in the comments, a gentle tap on the like button, or sharing it with someone who'd understand, is enough to change everything. I'm Eli. I'm 10. We live in a split level in a quiet cul-de-sac where every driveway looks the same and the HOA emails about trash cans left out too long. The house technically belongs to my grandparents, my mom's parents, but Mom and I stay in the mother-in-law suite, a little add-on with its own side door, a tiny living room, and a kitchenette that tries very hard to be a kitchen. If you stand in our kitchenette and lean just right, you can see into the main house through a pass-through window that was probably trendy in the 90s. I know the view by heart, the big dining table, the chandelier shaped like upside-down wine glasses, the framed photo of my Aunt Leia holding a diploma. Mom once called the photo strategy. She didn't explain. Grown-up words sometimes mean different things depending on who's using them. On weeknights, dinner in our place is simple. Mom says simple is faster. She comes home from the diner in her black work shoes and a plain t-shirt that used to be white, hair twisted up with a pen. She kicks off the shoes, washes her hands till the soap squeaks, and asks me how school went while the toaster ticks and the eggs hiss. "Scrambled or over easy?" she asks. "Over easy," I say, because I like when the yolk breaks and runs into the toast. It feels like a magic trick you can eat. She slides the eggs onto my plate and then pours herself coffee. Black. No sugar, no milk. She keeps saying she's trying to quit coffee, but the bag of grounds in our cabinet is always new, like the way you always think there's one more French fry at the bottom of the bag. "Mom, aren't you eating?" I ask. "I ate at work," she says, smiling like it's not a big deal. We messed up a club sandwich and I grabbed the half that didn't look like a car crash. Chef's special. I look at the counter. No crumbs, no plate. Just her mug with steam curling out and my eggs and toast. I'm 10, not dumb. Sometimes grown-ups tell small lies the way kids tell big stories, because it makes things easier for everyone at the table. I cut into the egg. The yolk runs. I take the first bite slow, then faster. Mom sits across from me with her hands wrapped around the mug like it's a campfire. "Science fair sign-ups were today," I say. "They said you need a parent volunteer to supervise the hallway so kids don't steal each other's volcanoes." Mom laughs into the mug. "I can supervise. Volcano security is a passion of mine." I grin. "Can we do the project with plants that grow toward light? The one where you make a maze out of a shoebox?" "We can do better than a shoebox," she says. "We'll go all out and use a sneaker box." She taps her phone with her thumb, twice, like she's checking something, and then flips it face down. She does that a lot. Sometimes she does it so fast, I think the phone is hot. When I finish the eggs, I scoop up the last yolk with triangles of toast. Mom offers the last half piece of toast from the plate she already ate, and I pretend not to notice it wasn't there before. We clear our 2 dishes, and she turns on the faucet, letting the water run cold. That's when I hear it, the little vibration that means someone texted her. It's not a loud noise, but in our place, quiet is the default. So small sounds draw themselves in thick pencil. Mom glances at the face-down phone like it's a quiz she studied for, or a message she already knows the answer to. She wipes her hands, picks it up, and sighs through her nose. "One sec, kiddo," she says, stepping toward the pass-through. Through the opening, I can see the bigger kitchen glowing bright like a TV show where every counter is clean and the stove has never burned anything. My grandma is there, leaning on the island, scrolling on her own phone. My grandpa's in the background with the evening news turned up too high, arguing with the anchor like they can hear him. Mom doesn't go into their kitchen. She calls instead. I can tell because her voice changes a little, polite, like when she's at work. "Hey, Mom," my mom says. "I sent it." On the other side, Grandma glances down at her screen. "It says pending?" she answers, loud enough for the TV to compete. "You did the full amount this time, right? Gas and power. Your father says we're not floating the electric again." "I did the full amount," my mom says. "Zelle sometimes lags?" Grandma's lips make that sound she uses when a waiter forgets lemon with her water. "Okay, next month we should add Wi-Fi. It's not fair to us to keep calling the company. You're on the same network." "We're in the suite," my mom says. "We have our own router." Grandma doesn't answer that. "Laya's tasting is this weekend," she says instead. "We're moving money around for deposits. You know how weddings are. Everyone has to step up." "Right," my mom says, voice flat the way a lake gets when the wind stops. "I know." "Good," Grandma says. "And please be on time to pick up the candles from Michael's. White, not ivory. Ivory is off." Mom opens her mouth, closes it, nods to no one. "Okay." The call ends. She sets the phone down face down again, then stares at the faucet like it's a horizon she might swim across. She takes a breath you can barely hear and turns the water off. I'm wiping the table with a paper towel because she likes when I help. "What's a deposit?" I ask. "It's like a promise you make with money," she says, coming back to our side of the house. "You pay a little now, so someone holds something for you later." "Like if I give Joey my card so he doesn't trade my holographic Pikachu to Max?" Mom smiles for real this time. "Exactly like that, except with fewer holograms and more adults being dramatic." We stack the dishes on the drying rack. I rinse the sponge like she taught me. Ring twice, shape it into a square, drop it in the little wire holder. It feels like passing a test. "Can I have another egg?" I ask. It comes out before I can stop it. The first two were good in that way that makes you think maybe one more would be perfect. Mom glances at the pan, at the carton in the fridge. For a second, her eyes do a quick math I recognize from homework. What's left? What's needed? What's due? Then she nods. "One more," she says. "Champion's bonus." She cracks it with one hand like a magic trick I've tried and failed to copy. While it sizzles, she pours herself more coffee instead of getting a plate. I don't say anything about that. I've learned the difference between questions that help and questions that make her shoulders go tight. When the egg's done, she slides it onto my plate like it belongs there. I eat slower this time because she's watching me the way people watch fireworks. Happy and a little sad at the same time. Through the pass-through, I hear the other side of the house. Grandpa turning up the news, Grandma pacing, her voice floating words like budget and final payments, and Laya deserves the best. Mom's phone buzzes again, then again. She doesn't pick it up. "Do you ever get tired?" I ask, because even a not helpful question can feel important when it sits in your chest too long. She looks at me like she's deciding which answer I need. "Yeah," she says. "But not of you." Outside, the streetlights blink on. Somewhere down the block, a dog barks, then gets told to stop. In the big kitchen, a drawer shuts too hard. In our suite, Mom rinses my plate and sets it in the rack beside the others. She twists the pen out of her hair and shakes it loose, then tucks the pen behind her ear like she's saving a thought for later. Science fair, she says, tapping the counter twice, same rhythm as her phone earlier. We'll pick up a box tomorrow, and seeds. Basil grows fast. Is basil the one that smells like pizza? I ask. It's the one that is pizza if you're creative, she says. She turns off the overhead light, leaving the small lamp by the couch. Our place gets quiet again. In the quiet, I learn to hear the difference between the main house and our side. Their plates, our mugs, their plans, our lists, their steak knives, my fork slicing gently through toast so the yolk doesn't run off the edge. Saturday mornings in our place always start slower. Mom doesn't have an early shift at the diner, so she stays in her pajama pants longer, hair loose instead of pinned up with a pen. I'm on the couch in my socks, watching a science show where a guy in safety goggles makes things explode in slow motion. The knock comes from the connecting door, the one between our suite and the main house. It's not a polite knock. 3 quick taps, like someone testing whether the wood's still solid. Mom doesn't flinch. She just picks up her phone from the counter and walks over. Grandma's there, framed in the doorway, holding a printout from her bank app. It's the first, she says, not, good morning. Mom nods, disappears into her bedroom, and comes back with a thick envelope. She doesn't hand it to Grandma directly. She sets it on the counter between them, like it's a transaction at a store. Grandma picks it up, flips it in her hand, and without even glancing at Mom, calls out over her shoulder, "Here." Grandpa appears in the hallway in his slippers, still chewing the end of a toothpick from breakfast. He takes the envelope, tucks it into the pocket of his flannel shirt, and heads toward his recliner like the TV is about to start without him. No, thank you. No, we appreciate it. Just gone. I lean forward on the couch, peeking around Mom to see. Grandma's already pulling her phone out of her cardigan pocket, thumbs tapping fast. Does Ocean View Grill still have that prefix? She says to herself, then into the phone. 2 for tonight, by the window. Her voice shifts into that customer service sweet tone she never uses with us. Yes, we'll do the wine pairing. The conversation fades as she walks back toward their kitchen. I catch appetizer options right before the door swings shut. I turn to Mom. What's prefix? It's French for expensive dinner with tiny portions, she says, putting the coffee pot on. That night, the smell of garlic and butter drifts through the wall from their side of the house. Something fancy from a restaurant bag. On our side, we eat instant ramen. I break the dried noodle block in half so it cooks faster, stir in the seasoning packet, and watch the steam curl out of the bowls. Mom adds a sliced hard-boiled egg to mine, like she's making it special. She skips the egg for hers. Did you eat at work again? I ask. She smiles without looking up. Something like that. I don't say anything else, but I think about that envelope, how heavy it looked in her hand, how fast it disappeared into someone else's pocket, and about how our bowls are plastic, not porcelain, and how nobody here ordered wine to go with noodles. I eat my ramen anyway. It's salty and warm, and for now, that's enough. It's late, later than I should be awake. The clock on the microwave says 11:42, glowing green in the dark kitchen. My stomach's doing that hollow growl it does when the ramen from earlier has worn off. I keep a box of cereal in the cabinet above the fridge, next to the one glass we own that doesn't have a chip in it. I pour cereal into a plastic bowl, add milk from the half-gallon in the fridge, and grab a spoon. The sound of cereal hitting milk seems loud in the quiet, like I'm breaking some secret nighttime rule. That's when I smell it. Rich, buttery, a little smoky. Steak. Not the diner kind Mom brings home sometimes when the chef messes up an order. This is upscale steak. Restaurant steak. The kind I've only seen on the cooking shows where the chef talks about marbling like it's poetry. It's coming from the main house. I pad barefoot toward the connecting door. The pass-through window between our kitchenette and their dining room is half covered by a vase of fake flowers, but there's just enough space for me to see through. Grandpa's at the head of the table, cutting into a thick piece of meat with a knife that flashes under the chandelier. Grandma's beside him, laughing at something Aunt Laya just said. Laya's fiancé, Ethan, leans back in his chair, wine glass in hand, looking like he belongs in one of those ads for credit cards with no spending limit. The table's covered, filet mignon, mashed potatoes glossy with gravy, green beans bright as if they've never seen a can. A bottle of red wine sits open, label turned toward the room like it's posing. Laya's wearing a silky top I've never seen before. She's talking with her hands, a fork dangling between her fingers, and everyone's looking at her like she's the lead in a movie. I take a step closer to the pass-through, cereal bowl warm in my hands from the milk. That's when Grandma notices me. "Eli," she says, not unkind, but not warm either. More like she's spotted a neighbor's kid wandering onto her lawn. "Sweetie, it's almost midnight. Kids don't need to be eating this late. It's bad for your metabolism." She glances toward Mom's empty seat. There's no plate for her, not even an extra fork. "Why don't you head back to bed?" Grandpa doesn't look up from his plate. "Yeah, get him tucked in," he says, like I'm some chore on a list. Laya lifts her wine glass. "Besides," she says, smiling just enough to show she's not really joking, "maybe if you guys worked a little harder, you could have steak at home too. Can't blame Mom and Dad for having standards." They all chuckle like she just nailed the punchline. The cereal suddenly feels heavier in my hands. I don't say anything. I'm not sure I could if I tried. I just turn, walk back to our side of the house, and close the door behind me. In my room, I sit on the edge of the bed with the bowl balanced on my knees. The cereal's gone soggy, but I eat it anyway, one slow bite at a time. Through the wall, I hear the sounds of their dinner. Forks scraping plates, glasses clinking, laughter that swells and fades. Somewhere in there, a knife hits china with that sharp, perfect ring, like a bell marking the difference between their table and mine. The house is quiet now. Main house quiet, not our side quiet. I can still smell the steak faintly through the wall, but the clink of silverware has faded into the low hum of their dishwasher. My cereal bowl is empty, pushed to the corner of my desk. I get up to get some water and find Mom in the kitchenette, the only light coming from the little lamp by the coffee maker. She's not moving, just sitting at the table with her hands folded, staring at nothing in particular. Her hair's down, a strand falling over her cheek, and she doesn't seem to notice. "Couldn't sleep?" I ask, my voice small in the stillness. She looks up, as if she'd been far away. "Something like that," she says, and pats the chair next to her. I sit, legs swinging just above the floor. She reaches out and runs her fingers through my hair, slow, deliberate. Usually, when she does this, it's quick and distracted, like she's also thinking about laundry or bills. Tonight, it's different. It's like she's memorizing the shape of my head, the way my hair falls. "You won't have to go to bed hungry again?" she says, her voice low, steady. It's not angry. There's no sharpness to it. But it's not soft either. It's the kind of voice that makes you believe whatever's being said is already decided. I'm not sure what to say back. I nod, because it seems like the right thing, and keep looking at her hand in my hair. It's warm, but not the same warm as when she's tucking me in or waking me up. This warmth feels intentional, like she's passing something to me I can't name. She leans back, exhales slowly. "Some things," she says, almost to herself, "don't change unless you make them." I want to ask what she means, but the way she's looking past me, toward the wall that separates us from the main house, makes me stay quiet. In that moment, I don't understand the promise she's making. I just know it's bigger than me, bigger than cereal at midnight, bigger than steak on the other side of the wall. Later, when I'm in bed, I can still feel the weight of her hand on my hair, like it left an invisible mark. And in the dark, I wonder, not for the last time, what she's planning. The first no happens on a Tuesday. I'm sitting at the counter doing math homework when Mom's phone buzzes. She picks it up, puts it on speaker, and keeps folding laundry. Casey, Grandma says. She always calls Mom by her first name, like they're co-workers instead of family. The electric bill came in higher this month. Go ahead and transfer what you can so we don't get a late fee. No, Mom says, calm, like she doesn't want more coffee. There's a pause on the other end. Excuse me? No, Mom repeats, flipping a t-shirt into the pile. We're caught up on our side. I'm not covering yours anymore. Grandma's voice sharpens. That's not how family works. Mom doesn't even look at the phone. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Either way, no. She taps the screen to end the call and goes back to folding. I'm still staring at her like she just spoke a foreign language. The second no comes 3 days later. Grandpa calls while we're in the grocery store. I hear his voice through Mom's phone. Gruff, direct. Pick up a case of beer and a couple of steaks for the weekend. Put it on your card. I'll pay you back when I remember. No, Mom says, grabbing a gallon of milk and moving on. What's the problem? It's just groceries. No, she says again, and hangs up before he can answer. I'm half expecting her to look rattled, but she's fine. More than fine. She looks lighter, like she put down a bag she'd been carrying for years. The third no isn't even spoken out loud. It's a text from Laya that lights up Mom's phone while we're making spaghetti. I can see it from where I'm chopping mushrooms. Laya. Come on, it's family. Family's supposed to help each other. I watch Mom read it, her lips pulling into the kind of smile that isn't about being happy. It's about knowing something the other person doesn't. She sets the phone down without replying and stirs the sauce. Everything okay? I ask. Better than okay, she says. We're just setting new rules. I twirl spaghetti around my fork, pretending not to notice the way her eyes flick toward the wall that separates our little kitchen from theirs, like she's already imagining what those rules will change. Saturday mornings usually mean cereal or toast, something quick before Mom heads to her shift. But this morning, I wake up to the smell of bacon. Not the two-strip kind she sometimes sneaks into ramen, but a whole pan sizzling, popping, filling our suite with that warm, smoky smell you only get from a diner griddle. When I walk into the kitchenette, the counter looks like a commercial for breakfast. A stack of pancakes on a plate warming in the oven, a bowl of strawberries rinsed and glistening, a carton of orange juice with the cap already off. Mom's flipping another pancake, her hair tied back, still in sweatpants. Maybe you clicked out of curiosity. Or maybe, without even knowing, you were looking for a quiet place, where the words arrive slowly and silence has a seat at the table too. I've written this story with care, like stitching together memories, pain, and small discoveries, hoping that somewhere in it, you might see a piece of yourself. If that happens, even for just a moment, stay. Listen for as long as you can, and if you feel like it, leave a little sign you are here. A few words, a thought, even just a still here. It doesn't have to be big, but sometimes that's how the most meaningful connections start. And if you want to hear more stories like this, you know what to do. I've tried, for most of my adult life, not to think about that night. But sometimes, it plays on a loop, like a bad movie you can't shut off. I was 6. The first thing I remember isn't the words, it's the sound. A hard, angry pounding on my mom's bedroom door, the kind that makes the wood vibrate in its frame. It was 2 a.m., though I didn't know that then. I just knew it was pitch dark outside, and the air in the room felt heavy. I was already awake, sitting in my mom's lap. Her arms were wrapped so tightly around me that my little ribs ached. She smelled like laundry detergent and a faint trace of coffee, but under that, I could feel her heartbeat, fast, uneven. My chest still remembers it. When she opened the door, the smell hit me before the voices did. Beer and red wine, sour and thick. My grandfather, though I've never called him that, stood there shirtless, his belly pressing against the doorway, eyes glassy. Behind him, my grandmother leaned on the wall like she had all the time in the world, her wine glass tilted in her hand. They said things I didn't understand, about rent, about dead weight, about how my mom had made her choices. And then it happened. My grandmother's voice cut through everything. Trash sleeps outside. At 6 years old, I didn't know what that meant, but I knew it wasn't good because my mom froze. Completely still, like those words had hit her harder than the winter wind outside. Minutes later, we were standing on the front porch. The door shut behind us with a soft click, not a slam. She'd been careful about that, maybe so the neighbors wouldn't hear. Maybe so I wouldn't cry harder. The cold wrapped around us immediately. I remember my nose stinging, my breath turning to little clouds, and the thin blanket she'd pulled over my shoulders doing almost nothing. I didn't understand trash, but I understood outside. And that night, the cold became part of me in a way that never really left. The porch light was still on when we stepped outside, throwing long, sharp shadows across the snow-speckled driveway. My mom was trying to keep me close, tucking the blanket tighter around my shoulders, when I heard another sound. Not the wind, not the crunch of our shoes on the frozen steps. It was laughter. I looked up, and there she was. Avenue. My mom's younger sister. My aunt, though she never once felt like family. She was standing at the top of the stairs inside the house, one hand resting on the railing, the other playing with a strand of her perfectly curled hair. She'd just come home from somewhere, probably a party, her makeup flawless except for the smudge of dark lipstick at the corner of her mouth. Her smile widened when she saw us. "Finally," she said, her voice drifting down like she'd been waiting all night for this moment. "I thought they'd never throw you out. Guess they were getting soft." I didn't know what soft meant in that context, but the way she said it made my chest tighten. I glanced at my mom, expecting her to say something back, but her jaw was set, eyes locked forward. I tugged on the blanket and asked the only thing that came to my mind, my voice small in the freezing air. "Aunt Ava, are you happy?" Her grin turned sharper. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, tilting her head like she was letting me in on a secret. "I'm thrilled. Mommy's finally learning where she belongs." She actually laughed after that, not the kind of laugh you hear when someone's telling a joke. It was short, dry, and final, like a door closing. At 6, I didn't understand the politics of my family. I didn't know about money, grudges, or the history that had built to this moment. All I knew was that, in that house, my existence was entertainment for some and a burden for others. And as the cold crept deeper into my bones, I realized something else. If people could smile while you froze, they were never going to let you back in. The days after that night blur together in my mind, like a string of mismatched snapshots. One frame is of a wooden park bench, cold metal armrests pressing against my sides while I tried to curl up under my blanket. Another is of us sitting on the curb outside a gas station, its lights off, the big closed sign glowing faintly in the window. I remember pressing my cheek against my